Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, and this is another edition of our channel where we bring you the best in creepypasta. So as some of you may know, it's Halloween today, or rather it was when I wrote this intro. And so, to celebrate the day, I decided to try something different with the story I chose for tonight. This one comes from a website, and it's not only set on Halloween, but also involves Jack Skellington himself, the Pumpkin King. So let's get right into it. It was Halloween night. My daughter was 4 years old. She got all dressed up as Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. We were planning on going to a friend S house for trick-or-treating, because my daughter had a blast last year. We had fun meeting other kids and adults, passing out candy and socializing. We arrived at about 6:30 p.m. I thought that was plenty early enough. I figured we could hit 5 houses easily before dinner. My daughter kept asking if she could get her candy stash, so I would tell her to wait a few more minutes. At about 7 p.m., she was getting restless. We stopped at the first house, and she ran up to the door and rang the bell. A girl about 12 years old answered the door. She had a carved pumpkin bucket. "Trick or treat," said my daughter. The girl just stared at her for a moment. She looked over my shoulder and gave me a look that I cannot forget. It was like an emotionless stare. She opened the door wider and dropped her carving pumpkin onto the ground. She stepped back and slowly closed the door while saying, "Go away." I picked up the smashed pumpkin and said, "Oh no, don't be mad. Maybe she just didn't see you." To my surprise, my daughter said, "No, she saw me." She reached for my hand and dragged me towards the next house. We went to 4 more houses, and each time she knocked, the child who opened the door reacted the same way. They had looks of pure hatred towards my daughter. They seemed surprised that anyone would be out past 6:30. Each kid threw their candy at my feet and slammed the door in our faces. I tried to keep my cool and just laugh it off, but my daughter was crying now. We finished off our candy stash from home, and she became really upset. I started thinking maybe we should have stayed home. I felt a bit guilty for dragging her through this. So I told her we would go back to our place, and we would watch a movie and have popcorn. As we walked home, I noticed my daughter lagging behind. I turned around and asked her why she wasn't walking with me. She was staring at the ground. I don't remember what we were talking about, but she just kept repeating, "I want to go home." When we finally got home, she sprinted up the stairs and locked herself in her room. I could hear heavy breathing from behind the door. I was concerned, so I knocked and asked if she was okay. "Leave me alone," she yelled. I left her alone until about 9 p.m. when I knocked again. Still the same answer. "Leave me alone," she yelled. I called her name and asked her to come out again, but there was no answer. As I stood outside the door, I started to feel this sudden sense of dread, like some bad things were about to happen. I started to panic. What if she hurt herself? Should I break down the door? But then suddenly I heard chains dragging metal moans. Then the door slowly started opening by itself. I backed away in fear and watched as the door swung open. There was my daughter standing in front of the mirror, dressed like Sally. Her face was white as a sheet, and she was shaking. "Why didn't you come out earlier?" I asked. "I wanted to be scared," she replied. I felt relieved and angry. Relieved that she was okay and angry at how I hadn't realized she needed help. I pulled her into a hug and asked her why she didn't call me. "You never came," she whispered. I was confused. "What do you mean?" She pointed to the closet. I looked and found 2 new outfits hanging in there, one for me and one for her. One was a witch costume, and the other was a skeleton. I think I gasped because she continued, "You're supposed to wear these when you're scared." I still didn't understand. She explained. The girl at the door said, "Go away. You're not invited here." That meant we weren't welcome in Halloween Town. She said we need costumes to be able to join them. At this point, I was both scared and confused. I didn't understand what she was talking about. I asked, "Who isn't invited?" She said all the kids said the same thing. "We aren't invited to Halloween Town. If we didn't leave, they would trap us forever." I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be rude, but I didn't believe her. I didn't know if she was making this up or if she was really scared. I went to bed and hoped that she would sleep. But no, she spent the whole night knocking on the closet door and calling out, "Jack, Jack, can you hear me? I'm here." I didn't sleep a wink. I knew my daughter was too young to be watching horror movies. I didn't know what else to think. I opened the closet and found that it was empty. I looked under the bed and found my daughter's skeleton costume. Then I noticed a black marker drawing of a skeleton on the wall. It appeared to be a message. I wiped it off and read, "Go away." Then I saw another message. "This house belongs to Jack Skellington." I decided I needed coffee. I went downstairs to make some. Suddenly I heard a knock on the door. I looked through the peephole and saw the girl from last night. She was holding out a jack-o'-lantern. Inside it was a heart-shaped box. I opened the door and asked what it was. "For Jack," she said. She dropped the box at my feet and walked away. I picked up the box. It was cold to the touch. I brought it upstairs to show my wife. When she saw the symbol, she screamed and dropped it. "Don't touch that," she said. "What does it mean?" I asked. She said, "That's the symbol of the Pumpkin King. I haven't seen that since I was a child." She explained that the Pumpkin King rules Halloween Town. He has magic powers and will do anything to protect his town. She asked me why I allowed my daughter to go out in the first place. I told her that my daughter always gets upset when we don't go out. And this year I thought I could take her to a friend's house. I didn't know anything about the legend of Halloween Town. My wife said, "You've got to get rid of that box. It doesn't like outsiders." I didn't want to hurt my daughter's feelings, but I thought it was best to listen to my wife. I took the box back to the girl and told her that we didn't want to be part of whatever she was trying to invite us to. She nodded her head and disappeared. The next morning, my daughter woke up and immediately came to me and asked, "Can we go back to Halloween Town?" I told her that we couldn't. She cried and begged me to take her back so she could apologize to Jack. She said she wanted to live there. In Halloween Town, my wife and I talked. We agreed to take her to a different party the next year and pretend that nothing happened. I hope this story was scary for you. Happy Halloween, and thanks for watching.